Mandelbrot to a breakthrough. In 1980, he created an equation of his own, one that combined all of the Julia sets into a single image. When Mandelbrot iterated his equation, he got his own set of numbers. Graphed on a computer, it was a kind of roadmap of all the Julia sets, and quickly became famous as the emblem of fractal geometry. The Mandelbrot set.
It's not easy to describe the Mandelbrot set visually. It looks like a man, it looks like a cat, it looks like a cactus, it looks like a cockroach. It's got little bits and pieces that remind us of almost anything that you can see out in the real world, particularly living things. So it has a character that reminds us of a lot of things, and yet it itself is unique and new.
The Mandelbrot set is real, an absolute thing, no question whatsoever. Any mathematician or any computer scientist or student in a school can study it and find the same, describe the same thing. It's a common experience. And so such things that can be magnified forever and have infinite precision do exist, but they're not touchable.
It's a geometrical shape, an icon, if you wish, which somehow embodies as an example a very important aspect of how the world works. Somebody recently actually called this set the thumbprint of God.
With this mysterious image, Mandelbrot was issuing a bold challenge to long-standing ideas about the limits of mathematics.
The blinders came off, and people could see forms that were always there, but formerly were invisible.
The Mandelbrot set was a great example of what you could do in fractal geometry, just as the archetypical example of classical geometry is the circle.
When you zoom in, you see them coming up again, so you see self-similarity. You see, by zooming in, you zoom, you're zooming in, you're zooming in, and pop. Suddenly it seems like you're exactly where you were before, but you're not. It's just that way down there, it has the same kind of structure as way up here, and the sameness can be grokked.
Now we'll begin our serious exploration of the Mandelbrot set, a voyage which in fact could last forever and ever, much longer than the lifetime of the universe. I have here the full set, about 6 inches across. Now, if I blow this up, I'll increase the magnification now 13 times, and you see more and more detail is appearing. And the interesting thing is you see mini Mandelbrots, replicas, almost identical, yet perhaps subtly different, of the original set. And I can go on doing this. Here's a magnification of more than 3,000 times. So the original picture, about 6 inches across, is now half a mile across. And no matter how much we magnified it, a million times, a billion times, until the original set was bigger than the entire universe, we would still see new patterns, new images emerging, because the frontier, the M set, is infinitely complex. And when I say infinitely, I really mean that. Most people, when they say infinitely, they mean only rather big. This is really infinite. so remarkable, in fact, astounding, about the Mandelbrot set is that although it's infinitely complex, it's based on incredibly simple principles, unlike almost everything in modern mathematics. In fact, anybody who can add and multiply can understand the principles on which it's based. You don't even have to subtract or divide, still less use logarithms or trigonometrical functions to comprehend how the Mandelbrot set is created. In fact, in principle, it could have been discovered any time in human history and not merely in 1980. But the problem is this: although it's only based on adding and multiplying, you have to carry out those operations millions, billions of times to create a complete set. And that's why it was not discovered until the era of modern computers.
Shalom, shalom, family. As always, at the 10-minute mark, we're going to say the Lord's Prayer. So bow with me as we say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father in heaven, honored be thy name. May thy kingdom come, may thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us each day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us on the righteous path, and guard us from the evil one. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, shalom, shalom, family. Shalom, shalom. So first, I want to just show something real fast. I want to have just a quick holy conversation today on just some things of the Bible. But first, I want to show something that I added to a video. As you know, we got very deep into, the reality of things, the roots of peoples and whatnot. Finding out that the biblical narrative is true, right? Genetically, linguistically, historically, and all things in between. But on this video of E1A and E2, which I think not a lot of people had talked about, I found this note I was looking for. I just want to show it real fast. The reason why is because this is one of the ones that I had found real fast and I had lost. But this is what it's about. It's about the first horse herders and the impact of early Bronze Age steppe expansion into Asia. That's very important. So it's just talking about, now think about it. It's the Bronze Age, right? If we note certain lineages, we can note where they are and things like that. This is from, sometimes I like to note these little dates on when these things come out and whatnot. This is 2018. I'm going to show you something, what they found there. I'm just going to go down here. Now, there's a couple different little downloads right here. You can download these little things. And I already have this download right here, which I put right here. I'm just going to open it. And I want to show you something. I also put it on this E1B1A note. I'll add it to the description later. But I'm going to show you something. Now, what's really interesting is that E1B1A, a lot of times, its information is hard to find. And when I say hard to find, I mean hard to find. I guess the best way to put it is it's really hard to find. Let me just download it from here. All right. And I believe I put it on this thing. I'm just going to close this because this note seems like it's not opening. But I want to show you E1B1A in ancient times in the north. I want to show you E1B1A in ancient times in the north. So it's very important. We also got other lineages in the north and everything. Your A's and B's and different things like that, and other lineages. Almost like, we can find almost any lineage in different places, because I keep talking about this, that people didn't start in Africa. In fact, that's different pieces of information that will tell us that there's evidence said 6 million years ago of people going into Africa. 6 million years ago. You can see footprints that preserved that talk about that they can record people going to Africa. I'll show that a little bit later on a note on America. I'll just grab that real fast before I show this E1B1A. Let me just grab a note here from the Americas. And I just want to read something real fast because I seen a paper come out. I think it was just this week that talked about they've just found some evidence that people came from the Horn of Africa. But I was talking about how, if you've seen my video on Benaya, I already showed that we can show people 250,000 years ago in the Levant. But I want to show you some footprints. This is really interesting because the footprints that they found was really interesting. It just talks about, basically, they found footprints of people, basically, outside of Africa, right? According to scientists, the fossilized footprints shed lights on early evolutions of humans walking, as well as the dispersal of mammals from Eurasia to Africa, right? It says that they know that people came from Eurasia into Africa, and they say 6 million years old, right? They found footprint. Now, obviously, what's important is, like I had explained before, these dates are exaggerated, but this just lets us know that Crete, like for example, Crete or different people, 50 footprints, many footprints in the layer that they found. They say that they found them and estimated them, right? 6 million years old. And they actually conclude that the footprints actually shows that people were going into Africa. That's what's really interesting about this. That they found on some of these beaches and different things like that. Basically, people entering into Africa, right? That's very interesting. That's very interesting. So this is just something I just wanted to show real fast on that, just to give a little understanding. If you ever get that paper in front of you, you might end up seeing something like that. But I got this on. I got this note in the video. That last video, it says just America, pretty much. It just shows your age is going into Africa. This is a quote from that right there, and some other places where that's quoted. Right here, you can see where it talks about the oldest fossil, 6 million years old, and different things like that. Now I want to show something. I want to show something real fast from here. Now I'm just gonna read a little bit of the summary. So it's just gonna show us people from. Let me open up a map here. I'm gonna show you E1B1A in a place that's outside of Africa. About let's say, it's gonna be BC time. It's gonna be BC time, and it's gonna be one of his own things. But let me show that. All right, so you can see here. I'm just gonna go down. So obviously, I had talked about it before. IJK or GHIJK are people, and HIJK are people and stuff. That's gonna be of Japheth, right? That lets us know, this easy split CF of Japheth, right? CF would be Japheth. A and B, right? Your A and B groups, those would be Hamites. But D and E are the Shemites. But I want to show you E1B1A on here. I think it's really interesting. There's 3 of them. There's 3 of them that they find. And the locations are fairly interesting. I'm just going to go down to one of them. And also, the reason why I put this there, because this also has your E lineages. This has different E lineages in it. All right. I'm just going to go down and whatnot. You can see. Just going to keep going real fast. Just showing some other ones and whatnot, because it's a fairly decent sized list. Just gonna keep going. All right. In fact, I know which places is that, so I'm just gonna scroll kind of fast. But if you see this little thing, you also see E1s and E1A and E2s and whatnot. Just gonna go down. See E1A right there, Anatolia, right? That's gonna be early. EBA is early Bronze Age. So E1A, right? That's not the EB yet, but that's E1A. Just gonna keep going. Here's an E1B1A in Anatolia. That's Anatolia early Bronze Age, right? Anatolia, and that's what they talk about on this little thing. Well, right here, right? And Anatolia, right there. It's kind of hard to see. Let me see. Well, not too hard. You can see that's the Caucasus. The Levant would be right here, and Anatolia would be over here, right? So think about that. Some people say E1B1A is over here. E1B1A is over here. So if E1B1A is supposedly over here and over here in the early Bronze Age, right? If we find that they're here and here, then they'll obviously be in between these areas. That's very important. But we do find E1B1A over here. But not just over here. We also find them in different areas around. That's very important in ancient times. So this is early Bronze Age up in the north. So you can see Anatolia, E1B1A. Just going to keep going. There's some other ones. And the reason I want to show this because I didn't show this part. I just want to make sure that when I said I was going to find, because I said I was going to find this when I get the chance on this one. I just added it to this because this was one I just made sure I showed. Let me make sure this opens because I like the maps. So who are the people of the book? You think about it. Who are the people of the book? Truly, we all are the people of the book. Every single one of us, all of us who exist today, all of our people today are people of the book. But there are some, who are the concentrated people who you say will be the Israelites and things like that. Right? So you can see your E groups right there. So Anatolia, right? And this is another place. You see that CA there? I'm just gonna copy it and come over here. So this one, what's interesting about this one, I'm just gonna go to room right here. If I remember, I believe the C represents Chalcolithic age. It's just talk about Chalcolithic and things like that, because this is actually giving us little information from the early Bronze Age. I believe it also is talk about the Chalcolithic. I believe so. Pretty much. Just gonna scroll down, but you can see it talks about even as far as 3000 BC, 2000 BC, things like that and whatnot. Copper age, Chalcolithic, Copper age. So Bronze Age, that's why I double check. Bronze Age and Copper Age is what you're seeing there. So Copper Age and Bronze Age. Now the reason why I'm showing that, because that's also an E1 B1A in that time in this place, and I'll show that place. So here's that E1 B1A. So E1 B1A in this time frame or this place. I'll just show where that's at. Well, I'll show it on here. Right here. So you can see right here, this little location. So it just talks about this location right here, right? All the way where you see past Pakistan by Turkestan, right? Stretching out, really stretching out to these areas. And this is a long time ago, right? E1B1A, right? And I've been talking about it. Why do they call it the African haplogroup? It's bending of data. That's been bending of data. And one day people understand that what we're doing is we're supporting the truth, right? We're supporting the truth. So E1B1A, Copper Age, outside of Africa, right? You can see different lineages moving around, right? Because right where that area is, I already talked about it, that's where you will see Sumer and different areas around there, right? Around Mesopotamia. You can see E1B1A, Anatolia, middle late Bronze Age, right? Middle late Bronze Age. That's great. Anatolia, E1B1A, that's very important. E1B1A, Anatolia, and that's E1B1A1. That's M2. That's M2. That's very important. E1B1A1, M2, Anatolia, right? Middle late Bronze Age, right? These are real finds. What you're seeing here, these are real finds from these areas. So you're seeing E1B1A there, right? Anatolia, middle late Bronze Age. So you're seeing in the Bronze Age, in the Copper Age, E1B1A all over outside the Levant, which are E1A and E2s, right? Anatolia. You can see what's going on there, right? That's very important. That's very, very important. And I wanted to talk about real fast what one of the brothers had. He did a great video. I had sat and watched it. It was very deep. This is why I love when these brothers get this information so that they can bring these things out there to get, again, Turkestan, right? What is that? IA. I'm just gonna copy it. So another one, E1B1A, right? You can see E1B1A1. So when you see that one after the E1B1A, that's gonna be your M2. I'm just gonna close this and with this. So IA, what would IA? Iron Age. IA, Iron Age, right? Iron Age, Bronze Age, Copper Age, Iron Age outside of Africa. That's what you're seeing. E1B1A in these time frames, right? Here and here to here, right? If they're here to here and people say that they're here, right? If they say that they're down here, if we found them in Ramses, right? If some people say, oh, they're in Ramses, so make that a triangle. Here, here, and here. That means that they're in this area. If they're here, here, and here, right? And some say even over here, you can even make that a square, right? Doesn't that kind of remind you of New Jerusalem? I bet that's the size of New Jerusalem. Here, 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 and here. In the description, I put a video, and that's what we're going to talk about real fast. Revelation, right? In Revelation, Yah himself gives a very amazing illustration, I think. Let me go to that note real fast. Right? In Revelation, he paints New Jerusalem, right? He paints New Jerusalem and what New Jerusalem looks like, the size and everything and whatnot. Obviously, New Jerusalem's coming, right? New Jerusalem's gonna come later on. And that's what we're going to start talking about is prophecy. We're going to start getting on prophecy, getting deep into prophecy, and talk about these things of prophecy. But let me go right down and talk about New Jerusalem real fast. So New Jerusalem obviously is a very large piece of land. Let's take a look at it. What's amazing about it, this one's not really turned in an angle, but if I put this corner right here, and this corner would probably go right here, and then this corner will go over here and here. So this little area in this middle area, right, given to Abraham, right? When Abraham was there, he was given this area all the way to here, right? He was given all these areas and everything. But notice this area, covers this area. I'm just saying that because I think it's interesting how that shape is and how these little pieces connect. You see, now the reason why I'm saying this is because this is, if you try to type this down and find this, I didn't think that I would find an E1B1A when I looked on these genetics, when I saw this. But when I saw these E1B1As, I thought it was quite impressive. I thought that was quite impressive to find E1B1As, Iron Age, Bronze Age, Copper Age outside of Levant, in Anatolia, and in these areas that you see over here. So these little areas and these areas is where we find those E1B1As. And it's going all the way, because you can see this is going from the Neolithic to the Copper Age to the Bronze Age, to the Middle Late Bronze Age, to the Iron Age, to the time of the Ottomans, right? Later on times and whatnot. So you can see right here, even the breakdowns of it, right? Copper Age, right? Iron Age, you can see what's going on there. Early Bronze Age, middle late Neolithic, or this one middle late Bronze Age right there. So that's what we're looking at. We're seeing E1B1A in these areas and these areas, and notice is letting us know that those are ancient times, right? Ancient E1B1As. So if anyone say, do we have E1B1A? Because I already, like I said on the Bene Yah video, we're not going to go over E1B1A anymore. Not because we don't want to, because I surely can. And if I feel my soul, compelled to do it, which, there's a scripture that says, didn't he call Israel from Egypt? Right? He said, are you not like the Ethiopians to me? Right? In Amos 9, are you not like the Ethiopians to me? And then he says, haven't I called the Philistines from Ker? Right? Wasn't the Philistines pulled from Ker? Wasn't the Philistines pulled from Ker? And then he says Syria, he said he took Syria from the land of Crete. He took the Philistines from Crete, but he took the Syrians from Ker, right? He took the Syrians from Ker, right? Ker, where's Ker? Moab, next to the land of Jordan, right? Jordan is going to be where you see Moab. The Syrians, E1B1B, were pulled from that area, right? If you look at the Tufian homeland right in Levant, they were pulled from that area, and they themselves basically went upwards and settled in different areas. That's why you see a lot of E1B1Bs and a lot of individuals. But I took a screenshot on this E1B1A note. I also added it to this note that I was doing on E1B1A, and I just added, some things like these little notes that I'm just showing you, whatnot. So Middle Late Bronze Age, E1B1A, in the Levant. So Anatolia, that's technically Levant. That's very important. But obviously, understanding E1B1A is not native to that area. So that means if E1B1A is up in that area, you at least, even if someone said this, no, they didn't start there. They migrated there. If someone said they migrated there, what's interesting is I already confirmed E1B1 homeland is in Israel. So that means that they came up here from Israel. So that's one thing in itself. But also it's important to know if they say that they're over here, if they say E1B1A lived over here or lived over here, well, that's great, because that just means that they migrated through here and went over here. So that just proves that they went through the Levant. Because if they're found here, they had to go to the Levant to get there. And if they're found here, they had to also go to the Levant to get there. That's why I was talking about that actually what E1B1A actually did from E1B1, they went down, and that's why you see Mota's E1B1 before it turns to E1B1A. And from there, you can note a migration of different things. It's also important to know that the same ancient E lineages went all the way over here. settled in the land of basically Spain, but at that time, it was named after the sons of Eber, right? The Hebrews, where Hebrew came from. The linguistics of Hebrew came from Eber. And this Iberian Peninsula, this area, Iberia, that was actually named off of the Hebrews, and the Hebrews settled over here. Hebrews are Arabians and Israelites. Those are Hebrews, right? Sons of Eber. When I say Hebrews, right, they speak Hebrew, but they come from Eber. So they basically, they come from Eber. All what's the word I'm looking for? All Israelites, all descendants of Abraham come from Eber, right? Israelites, Arabians, what have you, right? And then I noted that they migrated all the way over here because I talked about that ancient E group that I found over here, and that E group went and he migrated and he came over here. So that's why you can know E groups were over here, and then they came and they migrated over here, and then they came down and they came over here, and then they came over here in these areas, and then they came down. They went back down this way into Africa. And that's why when you see in Egypt, right, they say Ramses was over here and stuff, but Ramses wouldn't be the one during the time. Ramses the third, they say Ramses the third had E1B1A. I don't believe that. I think he had E1B1B, but let's say he did have E1B1A. If he did have E1B1A, that's great because that means an E lineage got on the throne after after Israel left this area. So an E lineage got on the throne after the plagues of Egypt of ancient times. So that's a great connection. So I just want to show that because we as the people of the book, we live in truth, right? We live in truth. It's one of those things that if anyone ever asks a question, do we find E1B1As out of Levant? I just want to let this last piece be the last piece. Yes, absolutely. E1B1A is found in the middle, late Bronze Age. It's found in the, what have you, like Copper Age. It's found in the Iron Age outside the Levant. It's found in the Levant, and it's found outside Levant. And I'm saying outside as it being up out of Africa. That right? I'm basically saying that the E1B1A lineage is not an African lineage. It's not. It's not an African lineage. It's a lineage that actually migrated into Africa. And that's important. On V38, it talks about how E1B1A replaced the A and B lineages, and it talks about that even on the A lineage. It talks about how the A lineage was replaced by E1B1A. So I just want to show those things. As I actually took 3 screenshots, but there's four E1B1As in that list. There's 4. There might be 5. There might be 5 E1B1As, but these are just some of the ones that I have found there. So I just wanted to share that. And then here's your ancient E that I was talking about that was over here, right? One of the oldest E's found that I'm talking about how that E was over here. And a lot of the E lineages, a lot of the Eurasian lineages have female European lineages. That's just one of those things that they had before the time came where Abraham had his wife, right? And then having his certain wife, which are the L lineages. But first, before the E's start really expanding, they had European lineages, female lineages with them. So the reason why I want to show that because, I'm not going to talk a lot about these things, but I know that what we digged in, what we found is the truth. It's the absolute truth. So you can see right here, see that age there, you can see an E there, and you can see the location. We already talked about it, right? We already talked about the location, everything. It's a location that is basically right here and over here. So that location is right there. So I just want to show you that. So now that you see this, now let's move forward. So if anyone asks me who are the Israelites, E1B1A shows itself to be the Israelites. They were bending data and trying to hide this information. So there's obviously more information out there, way more. But what we got is a little drop of that water. So just get a little information on that. I'm close. I'll leave this right there. And I'll close this. So I added that just to make it clear. I added that to this one, E1, B1, and E2, rare ancient Eurasian migrations. It also talks about the DE roots, debunking D0. You know how some people try to say, because D0, modern D0 is found in Africa, so they must be African. Yet ancient D0 is not found in Africa. And also D0s are found in Syria and Lebanon. D0 is found in Syria and Lebanon. D0 doesn't even have a page. D0 doesn't have a page. But I want to show you that real fast. The only reason only reason that I'm talking about this today is because I don't know about anyone else, but I find lies just irk me. Like when I see lies, when I note something as a lie, it just bothers me to my core. It just bothers me to my core. So you see that D0 right there. Try to find a D0 page. Try to find it because you know why you can't find it, because they just found out D0 actually is D2. D2 and D0 are one. But if you try to find this page, they're not going to show you all this information. If you go deeper into it, you'll find out that D2 and D0 are one, which is not DE. That's very important. That DE actually makes your E lineages. The only reason I'm showing that because that's why they try to say that it's African based upon D0. That's based on modern humans. It talks about how modern humans, and when I say modern humans, I'm talking about humans today. I'm talking about humans today. If you actually look at that paper, they're not basing it upon fossils. They're basing it upon modern people. It's very interesting. But they use the SNP, they use the mutation and talk about, well, the mutation shows itself to be really old and whatnot. It talks about, oh, it's likely such and such 1,000 years ago. It's not. But just for clarity, they themselves try to use that to try to make them African. Modern D0, not ancient D0. They say that it's that old because of the SNP. That's very important. Like, for example, if you ever see someone pull up something like this, the Y tree, let them know quickly with the swiftness that what the Y tree is estimates, right? They're basically taking the mtDNA, right, and trying to estimate what basically is what's the word I'm looking for? The recent common ancestor, things like that. Sometimes you'll see people pull that up and they'll think that thing is right with its recent common ancestors and whatnot, and it's not. It's absolutely not. You got to pull up fossils. In fact, this Y tree site has fossils and whatnot. I don't know why I went to this one, but yeah, sometimes you'll see people pull up the Y tree. I added something because of having a conversation with an individual right here. I added it here. So when I was having a conversation with the individual, I thought it's important to clarify that. So I just added a note. As always, I always add little timestamps and whatnot. Sometimes you can't see all the notes, so you gotta go to like click top comments or click new first, so that the ones that, because YouTube be hiding stuff, but that's when you see the stuff that sometimes is hidden and whatnot. But let me go to one somewhere on here. Let me see where I put that real fast, just to open the link, because I have a link to it somewhere. I just gotta see. These are some other pieces. In fact, it's right here. Right here. It's a little white tree. Just to show that real fast. I'm gonna close this. So I just wanted to show that E1B1A and talk about, we are the people of the book, And here's, you can see right here, your A00, different things like that. But we found older A00s outside of Africa. But what you're seeing here is on the Y tree. If you want to look up actual fossils, the Y tree actually shows actual fossils, and then you can get, things like the recent common ancestors and things like that. But if you go to the Y tree itself and then try to a Yful, if you go to the things of Yful and look at the SNPs and things like that, just be careful. Be careful, because it's not actually using fossils. The fossils that they have don't support what they're trying to display. Just be careful with some of those things, is what I'm saying. That it's not the other ones aren't fossils. These are fossils. These are the actual fossils and stuff right here. So I just wanted to show that. Now, I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that I added that to one of the videos, not this one, but basically this one right here. So I just added some information to E and whatnot. These are just to give a little information. These are the female lineages. Just go down here. So again, I found out E lineages had a lot of this is the upper Eurasian lineages. So that's in the description. So there's always going to be something, some meat somewhere in the description. So these two I just added, this is the one with all those E, 1B1As and E groups. So, and then here's some fossils. Close that. All right, so I just want to have a conversation. So we're going to be, talking about, these ancient genetics. Not anytime soon, but we could, if the time ever comes, to talk of those things. Other than that, that's all I got for now. Otherwise, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. Everything seems calm today, which is good. I'm going to put this in the description, and I'm going to wait like 5 minutes. If this is the last time we're going to talk about this, if someone wants to come up now, or forever hold your peace. For we shall leave this thing alone. We already have the perfect information, the perfect understanding on what's going on with the world today, and that the E group is indeed the Israelites. So with that, we're going to start getting deeper into prophecy and talk about some things of prophecy and getting more deeper into, biblical understandings, which this is even a biblical understanding, right? The understanding of Ham, Shem, and Japheth, or the Israelites, things like that. Some people don't want to know, but we want to know. We want to know because it's definitely something to know, right? Now, also understand when I talk about this, understand that it's all love, right? It's all love. It's truth. It's just for the sake of those who are building in these things. So for those who are building these things, it's going to be one of those things for sure. But if anyone has any questions, let me know, and we can talk about these things. If one of the brothers or anyone wants to come up and talk about these things, we can talk about these things without a doubt, because it's one of those things that we got to be wise and careful on so that we can understand. Because usually when I have these conversations, people want to talk about, the people who they consider as Jews, like the Ashkenazi and stuff like that. But, what's the word I'm looking for? You got to be careful. You just got to be careful with certain things. Like, for example, I'm going to just show something real fast, as I think it's important to know. Some people try to say, when you think of Ashkenaz is a son of Japheth, right? That's something that the Ashkenazim, they are Ashkenaz is what's important. But you'll sometimes see people say a very interesting line. They'll say, well, the Ashkenazi Jews, they moved with the Germans and they called themselves Ashkenaz, right? Which in itself makes no sense. It would make more sense if they call themselves off of their linguistics. They didn't call themselves Germans, but they don't even call themselves Germans, but they call themselves Ashkenazim, which is very interesting. But there's also a very interesting report. I just want to read a really interesting report. This is a report that basically one of the geneticists had understood, and I would just want to explain this. When did the term Ashkenaz actually come into effect? When did that time come into effect, right? If you know already, you know what happened with the Khazars and stuff like that. They converted to Judaism, right? The Turks that ruled the earth, right? From Gog Turks. The Seljuk Turks and the Khazars are all from the Gog Turks. And they themselves had said something very interesting. I just want to see if this thing opens. Let me just close this and see if it opens again. I'm just going to click it and see if it will open for me. Let that thing load real fast. So here's something from little information, origin of Ashkenaz and Ashkenazi Jews and Yiddish and whatnot. Just want to read something real fast, as I think this is very important to understand. I'm just going to read something what he's talking about. All right, watch what he says here. Finally, Germany was known to French scholars like the Datka. You can see 1160 to 1235 AD, right? That's going to be obviously after Christ, right? It says I don't know how you say that, Almani, right? What's important is Germany wasn't called Ashkenaz. We know when the modern Jews started to call them Ashkenaz. But if you look at ancient papers and ancient things, Germany was not called Ashkenaz. It had a closer name, which was more what you see here. And this is what that site is more talking about, right? And it talks about the Almani, tribes, a term that was also adopted by Arab scholars. So even it was recorded by different scholars, different people recording these things. Had the French scholar Rashi, right, 1040 to 1105, interpreted Ashkenaz. He's saying like is recorded by a French scholar that Germany was not interpreted as Ashkenaz, right? He said if he had interpreted as Ashkenaz, as Germany, it would have been known to the Radak, who used the Rasha symbols, right? That's very important. But he says, therefore, he just talks about Winsler's proposal that Rashi used Ashkenaz in the meaning of Slavic, and that the term Ashkenaz assumed the solitary meaning German lands only after the 11th century. That's important because he talks about, it's evident that Germany after 11th century, by the Ashkenaz, and because it's recorded that the modern Jews were the ones to call them Ashkenaz. The modern Jews were the ones to call them Ashkenaz. Just to show you that, you can see right here where it says, right here, it says, here you must know that the Hebrews, at least the modern Jews, right? Modern Jews, because they knew about how the Turks were converting and becoming basically these different people. If you think that's not true, you should see this video on our playlist. I just want to show you something real fast. Let me just go to that a quick little thing. I never really showed this. I just threw it on this little playlist and whatnot. And I'm saying all this to provoke someone to come up. If they don't come up, then it's because that is what it is. They didn't come up. But if they do come up, then be prepared. But let me show you something real fast on our synthetic playlist right here. As I think it's important that we support the people scattered into all nations. I think it's important that we support these things because really, if you see how they are, the reason why, if you read the scriptures very carefully, it is no doubt what we're seeing is a true evidence of the times that we're in, right? It's no doubt. But let me show you something that I don't think a lot of people have seen. But right here on our synthetic Sunday playlist, it's 9 minutes long. I'm gonna click this. It's gonna be by a Dr. Daniel Liz.
But I will start with the end of my research.
I was gonna let you hear this real fast.
When a number of Igbo people had arrived in Israel in the 1990s. And one of them, Jim Aniello, went up to the High Court to claim Jewish identity, not only for himself, but for all of the Igbo people. So he wanted to have the law of return also applied to the Igbo people. Now, there was a High Court decision in 1994, of course, rejecting the Igbo Jewish identity. And what was most interesting for me, of all the stakeholders that gave their opinion about the Igbo, I think Israeli academia was the most influential ones and not the rabbis. We always think that, so halachically speaking, they're actually Jewish, but not by the state. During the 15th century and also the 16th century, there was quite a strong image about the Jews being red or reddish. And it was actually a geographical, people were quite sure that at the end of the earth, you can see it on the top of the picture, that there is a territory of the red Jews. Yes, you can find it on several maps around this time. And these red Jews were somehow threatening the Christian Europe, and the concept, of course, changed. It didn't stay the same, and you have, for instance, then in the 16th century, talk about the alliance of the red and the black Jews, and this is kind of an apocalyptic vision that would destroy Christian Europe. So again,
So if you've never seen that little tiny video, I just want to mention that that's a video that talks about how it's known in the 16th century that people knew there was different Jews. There were black Jews, there were red Jews. The red Jews came in. They came in from all the way over here from Turkestan and came down over here. That's very important. But this little information is just talking about basically you got to be careful when people try to say, make sure they pull out an actual word for word quote that says, right, an ancient quote, not a modern quote. We're talking an ancient quote, something like, 1800s, 1600s, earlier than that, something that literally says that Germany was called Ashkenaz and the Jews were calling themselves Ashkenaz. You got to see that quote if they got a quote like that. They don't have a quote like that because that's not true. There's modern quotes that literally say that the Jews were calling the Germans Ashkenaz. Like, for example, here, this is one of the earliest ones. This is from 17s. And this actually confessed that the modern Jews were the ones calling the Germans Ashkenaz. That's very important. By the modern Jews calling the Germans Ashkenaz, it's important to understand that they themselves were calling them that because they were one with them. When I say one with them, they were genetically related. They're genetically related. We can look at their genetics with the Germans. Hitler's related to them, right? Many of the Germanics are related to them. It's no doubt. It's a solid fact. But that's why I want you to know that what's important is they knew that that's not true, right? That the German land wasn't called Ashkenaz. It had a different name. That's just very important to understand. So there's just a little information on there where it says it also supports DS at major findings of the only known pre-evil village whose name derived from the word Ashkenaz, right? Located in ancient lands of Ashkenaz. It's just talking about the reason why is because if you've seen John L. Hawkes' linguistic study, he found out that the Ashkenaz more pinpoint to Turkey and different things like that, those lands and whatnot, and the name Ashkenaz, right? Ashkenaz, and whatnot. That's one of those things that's just very important to understand. So I just want to show that because you got to be careful if you ever see something like that in anything. But everyone knows, you can see Ashkenazi Jews were localized in modern-day Turkey and found to be genetically closest to Turkic Southern Caucasians and Iranian populations, right? Known with the Zagros Mountains and everything, suggest a common origin of Iranian Ashkenaz lands. It's just something that's just very important. So just wanted to show that. That's just one of those things that is something worth talking about if that conversation does come up. If you ever see anyone says the Jews, the reason why they're called Ashkenaz is because the Germans, they were over here in Germany and they were called Ashkenaz, is not true. Tell them to bring out that quote. That's why that person I told the other day, bring out that quote, he did not bring out that quote. In fact, he tried to send me a quote I should probably reveal it, because if someone tries to bring out this quote, you got to know what's going on. There's a quote of, let me just basically quickly comment on it. I'm just going to quickly comment on it. I talked to him. I said, does he want to have another conversation and everything? I don't know what's the deal, what he wants to do. I don't know if he wants to have a conversation, but he did email me and everything, and that's okay. Slow-mo had a conversation with him and whatnot. But let me talk about this little quote he tried to bring out, which I quickly debunked because it was clearly a bending of information, and he didn't really understand what he was trying to quote. That's why I hit him with the truth. Now, I'm going to go to it. Let me see. Where is it? Esoteric. I'm going to go down real fast. I will show it on this thing. I could just go to my email and go to it, but I'm just going to read it because it's just the little... a little thing. Let me see. Where is it? All right. Slow-mo, I sent a little thing real fast. Here it is. It's an emperor's decree. It's the... What's that? Codex Theodosis, something like that. But basically, this is what it reads. It says, "We allow all towns," right? And what it is a quote from... You would think it's an early quote because it's 300 from 321 AD and 331 AD. It just basically goes like this. It basically says, "We allow all town councils to appear through general law." It says Jewish people in the... Basically, it's talk about a certain area and everything. And it says these certain groups in this certain area. And it's letting us know that certain groups were basically... Because Rome Where Rome was, you will note that Rome was over here, and Rome had a piece of over here in the 300s. And right where the Rhine was, that's where the Germanics were. So you have Rome and then you have the Germanics. What is important is they mentioned that some of the Jews were over there with the Germanics. We know that, but we know what the Jews look like. That's important because we also can find quotes of the Jews in Germany. That's very important. We can look at what the Jews look like in Germany. In fact, one of the brothers had went real deep. He went really deep into the Jews of Germany and talked about how they still kept their facial features. When I say facial features, what basically they look like, darker skin. But right here, it will talk about how some lived there, but it never says that this was called Ashkenaz. Never says it. Never ever says it. It'll say that they just because some lived over here doesn't mean that they would have called themselves by any other what's the word I'm looking for? A tribe. That's very important. They never call themselves by another tribe. That would make no sense. That would make absolutely no sense for a large group of Jews start to call themselves after another tribe. If they speak another language, it would be linguistics, like the Spanish Jews. But they themselves, when you think of Sephardic Jew, a lot of people, when you look at why we're called Sephardic with the Spanish Jews, it's still known that the Jews were calling themselves Jews, right? If they would speak Spanish, a lot of times they would recognize them as Spanish-speaking Jews. But they themselves wouldn't go around and say, I'm a Sephardic Jew or I'm a Spanish Jew. They themselves would just basically talk about that they're Jews. We can see that in multiple records of who they are. But when they're identified as Sephardic or Spanish Jews. That's very important. Or Spanish Jews, right? That's a very important thing with Germany. Germany was not called Ashkenaz. Sometimes you see that with modern quotes. That's very important to be careful of those modern quotes. And then note who's calling them Ashkenaz, right? The modern Jews are calling them Ashkenaz. There's no historical quote that calls Germany Ashkenaz. It's a different name they were calling themselves. So that's just very important. Just because the people are over there, make sure you see an actual physical quote that says Germany was called Ashkenaz and that the Jews started calling themselves Ashkenaz. That's very important. We can find very easy quotes that know that modern Jews started calling themselves Ashkenaz because they were Ashkenaz. They were Ashkenaz. That's just very important. A lot of the Turks from Tugarma related with Ashkenaz. That's very important. So I just wanted to make sure that part is understood and clear. If you ever see anything like that, just understand and be careful that is why you had the individual who wrote the book 13 Tribes, the one at Tel Aviv, a professor at Tel Aviv, could not find that record, nor could anyone else. No one can find that record because it's not actually a record. They weren't in ancient time. Germany was not called Ashkenaz. It was the land of the Germanics. It had different names. So it's just one of those things to be careful of, because when different individuals can find the location, like the GPS tracing of the Ashkenazi Jews, find out that basically in Turkey, that's where they came from Ashkenaz, Ishkenaz, Eskenaz, Ashkenaz, pretty much. Different villages that are noted and found in different areas. So that's just something that's just very important. So with that, if any brother want to come up and say otherwise, tell us otherwise, hold your peace. That the people who are actually the Ashkenazim are really Ashkenazi. They are really Ashkenazi, sons of Japheth. That's very important. So when you think of the J group, anyone from F-M89 Japheth, it's just something just to take in. Right? So with summary, we found ancient time, E1B1A, Bronze Age, Copper Age, Iron Age over here around these areas. So that's just very important. So that's just something to obviously know. We found them in the Levant. We found them over here. We found them over here. They're all in these areas, right? We found them in Egypt. They're all in these areas. So E1B1A, if anyone asks me, they are the Israelites, and we all are the people of the book. We all are the ones who are existing here to live in truth. So with that, that's all I got for you today, family. We're going to go deep into prophecy later on. I just wanted to give a quick summary of that and show what I didn't show real fast from the other thing. So I added that to one of the lives. So with that, keep on keeping on, family. Be blessed, be beloved, and amen, family.